Vishal Joshi. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
What inspire you to get started onto this journey on the Instagram page that I'm seeing right now?
Yeah, so the thing is, I started with it goes way back into the time. So in 2016 I started with photography, right? I developed a knack for photography, and I was mainly into travel photography, nature, like landscape photography, things like that. Later on, I turned, like where I live, I don't have the access to that many sceneries and that good places and landscapes where I can actually go out and shoot on a regular basis. So then I turned into portraiture and things like that. I explored a lot into photography. And as things unraveled, I discovered that photography is much beyond just art. It's a tool that helps people connect to different things and to different people. So it's like a medium that helps you bridge the gap between you and the end consumer. So I realized, okay, this has a lot of power when it comes to marketing, the visuals, because then I later got into filmmaking. So I realized that this has a lot of power when it comes to marketing. Then I developed an interest into advertising. I developed an interest into marketing. And when I realized that, okay, photography is just a service, especially in India, people look at it as a commodity. I realized I should be the one who's creating demand for photography and filmmaking, especially based on storytelling. Right. So it inspired me to take my expertise, which was in photography and filmmaking, to the companies who are trying to make it big in the industry and connect it and pair it with storytelling and help companies grow. This is a very basic agenda.
Demand. You're talking about demand.
Yeah, yeah. I basically want to create demand in the industry for relevant marketing, not just spending resources, like a lot of resources and a lot of money at just one place on one single ad, but rather to use platforms like Instagram, different platforms of social media, in order to create relevance in the market of a product.
You felt that photography, films, it sort of lack demand. Instead of you wanting people to, uh, you reaching to people, you want people to come to you. Is
Yeah,
that the whole game that you are trying to play?
yeah, that's what got me started initially. But later on I realized that, okay, there are a lot of great photographers in the industry, there are a lot of great photographers in India, but the things that they are used for are not really up to the mark. Okay, so a skill of a photographer and a filmmaker should be used at an optimum level when it comes to advertising, marketing, and all the kind of stuff we see on the internet. So I, as a photographer, want to help other photographers establish their relevance in the market, especially in the marketing industry. So those who do it just for the hobby and those who do it just for their passion, like completely fine. They can do whatever works for them. But the people, the photographers and filmmakers who are trying to make it commercial, I want to give them a platform where their work is valued and their work can be actually portrayed as something much more valuable than just photography and filmmaking.
You bringing the whole community up because you are talking about other filmmakers.
Yeah,
They may not be able to bring in the demand.
yeah,
In the future, if you are able to bring in the demand, you are able to build a community, build demand from others to come to you guys. Like why? Why do you wanna help all this community? Why isn't it about just yourself? You're you're helping others. Like why is this about?
yeah. Because I was always the kind of guy who thought more about others than I thought about myself. because I feel like people need a lot of uplifting in their life and also in their careers. Since I was a little kid, I was more inclined towards helping others rather than, getting things done for myself. Because I always knew how to get things done for myself. But a lot of people that I hung around with, they had no idea what to do for themselves. Like even in high school, the my friends who I used to hang out with on regular basis, they had no clue as to what they should do in their lives. But I was always focused on my things and my career. So there was an inclination of giving these people, like my peers, a direction in their careers, in their lives, and using it to sort of build a group, build a community of myself where all of us have a similar set of ideas and all of us can help each other grow. So this was the basic idea.
Give us a brief description of the job that you are having right now. If say you got 2 minutes to talk to someone about what do you do, like what's your actual job and what's your passion driving forward into the future.
That's a good question, actually. So I would like to describe my job as to making people aware from the industries related to marketing, photography, and also some kind of self awareness. I see that's lacking in a lot of people that I hang around with. I come across a lot of such people on a daily basis. So this is my goal when it comes to, my personal life, which doesn't have any relation to my career whatsoever. But it's the same attitude, right, of uplifting people. So also when it comes to marketing and advertising, I want to help brands, be aware of the fact that the things that they are doing on a regular basis aren't necessarily effective and relevant. If they could just change their perspective towards marketing and look at social media as much more than just a platform, if they can actually leverage the power of social media, they can build a great brand. And I want to help them to do so. That's just my like basic lookout on what I am expecting from the market and what I expect from myself to contribute in the market.
When was the earliest time that you actually discovered that I should be bringing in the demand instead of me always trying to reach out for people? When was the time that make you think about it, that you should switch around and think about how to do marketing?
Yeah, so what happened was I was inclined towards travel photography, right? Like I mentioned, travel and landscape photography. And where I come from India, I didn't actually have the resources to travel 24/7, 365, just in order to shoot some photos and videos. And later on, I discovered that earlier I thought that content creation was not my cup of tea, but that's certainly not the case as things stand. But yeah, I did feel like travel photography is not a sustainable career for me personally. I definitely know a lot of people who are making a great living out of it, but I do feel that it wasn't a sustainable career for me. And I realized that life is much more than just traveling, taking photos and showing it off to people just so that we could get a few likes on Instagram or YouTube and making a living out of traveling. That's a great thing to like. Some might even dream of such a life, but I really felt that my need in the market is much more than this, because I can actually help brands find that bridge between content creators, between talented content creators, photographers and filmmakers, and the product that they are trying to sell. So there's a huge gap in this specific sector. So that's where I thought, instead of just sticking with my expertise behind the camera, I should actually go beyond this thing and help brands realize that, with the help of camera, and also good strategies, relevant strategies, you can use skillful people, skillful photographers, content creators to your advantage and make a great brand out of it. And it's always like, we are consumers of a lot of products. People like you and me, like every human being is a consumer, right? And whenever I used to love a product, I used to look at their Instagram. It was just a natural instinct. I liked a product. I liked some fruit juice. Okay. I used to go through their Instagram, look at their content. Like, what are they all about? What do they stand for? Do they actually represent something? How is their marketing like? Why are they able to create such an urgency in the market that all of the people are buying their product? So they had a great presence on traditional platforms like TV advertisements, newspaper advertisements. But as we all know, the paradigm is completely shifting towards social media now, with the help of Reels. TikTok is not there in India now, but with the help of Instagram Reels, Facebook Reels, YouTube Shorts, the paradigm has completely shifted to social media, right? But even these big brands with thousands and thousands of crores of turnover, they aren't relevant on social media. They are just these graphic templates and irrelevant stuff out on the internet. And when I look at their revenues, when I look at their numbers, finances, they are completely in losses. And most of their losses are in the marketing department. So I felt that these guys aren't really using social media to its full potential. So that's why I realized there's a huge gap, and I could fill in that gap and also create demand for fellow photographers, filmmakers like myself, and who are actually very intelligent people when it comes to strategizing for a particular brand.
Right. I heard a lot from you about uplifting people, wanting
Yeah.
to help other people. Can you bring us to the earlier stages that you can recall that got you into helping others?
There are a lot actually. There are a lot. So I'll give you one good one. Okay. I was like, now I'm 23.
Right.
And when I was 14, I had a friend. Like, he was one of my best friends back then. And we used to play football together. Right. Football, right? Soccer.
Right.
What do you guys call it? Do you call it football or soccer in
Yeah,
Singapore?
we call it both actually. Football, soccer.
Acha.
We
Yeah.
use both.
So we used to play football together. And the thing is, he always had a mentor for him, and I never had one. But what eventually happened was I learned football on my own, and I developed a better caliber than him in football. And it led to him being jealous of me because, in spite of having a mentor for himself, he couldn't outplay me, right? And I always thought of him as a best friend, as my best friend. So I never wanted him to be jealous of me, and also the other way around. Although I could never be jealous of anyone, but still. So what I thought was, instead of firing up his envy for me, I thought, let's just help this guy. Let's just help my best friend in order to be as good as me. So then he won't be jealous of me, which will jeopardize our friendship. Do you get me? And it eventually led me to help this guy be a good footballer, at least be shoulder to shoulder with me, so that he could finally stop being jealous. But I didn't think it actually worked back then, because his jealousy and the way he thought of me was always superior in his mind as to what he thought of himself. Do you get my point?
Right.
So later on, I realized, okay, I might fail once, I might fail twice, but it should never be like I'm looking down upon my people. And when I realized that I have a knack for photography and I have so many peers around whom I'm inspiring to do photography, do video editing, stuff like that, I could never see them, beneath me. I always wanted them to hang out with me side by side. Like if I am great at photography, then you should be great at video editing. You should be great at something else. So this was the first incident where I thought, okay, I should uplift people so that they are not jealous of me anymore. Because jealousy will ultimately lead to their demise.
Right.
Do you agree, right? Because whenever we are jealous of someone, the scope for growth just goes away. Because we'll always consider them superior to us. Because we are giving them that power, right?
You seem visibly emotional about really wanting to bring people together.
Yeah,
Why
I
why
am.
why is that? That why is it so important? Getting
Yeah,
people together with you. You seem
yeah.
emotional about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So from my childhood, I was an emotional guy, right?
Right.
And going back to the same incident, the guy who I considered my best friend for almost 13 years, right? As hard as I tried for him to be as good as me, just in a game, okay? And he was never meant to make a career out of it, make a career out of football. I just wanted him to be good because we could play together on a daily basis. But as hard as I tried, I could never do that. And this guy always stayed the way he was, jealous of me, envious of me, always looked in the mirror. And I bet on this that anytime he looked at the mirror, he thought of himself that he is not as good as me, which I never wanted. So I lost him as a friend. He is not my friend anymore, sadly. But that's why this, urge to keep who I consider close always close to me. Not physically, because as life takes its turn, everybody has to go somewhere. We might, distance our favorite people physically, but I always want them to be close spiritually as well as emotionally, because they always should know that someone is looking out for them, someone is rooting for them, someone is rooting for their success. So even if with time they forget me, they like I would be happy enough to know that they consider me as a part of their success.
What behaviors have changed ever since the friend after that occasion that friend left you? And
My behaviors,
yeah, towards such occasions where people get jealous of you and what's or not. How did you behave differently after
with new
learning from
people,
the first occasion?
with new people.
Yes.
Yeah, always nothing really changed, but some things enhanced. So the urge to uplift people enhanced, like it grew more and more in me, because I realized that I lost this friend because he could never be as good as me. But then I started to uplift people based on the fact that you shouldn't even look up to me, look up to the guys who are better than me, because there's always somebody better than your role model, right? Your role model is just who you choose it to be. It's not like they are the best person in the world. But I've started telling them, look up to someone who's better than me, and don't try to match my levels, because you and I will never be the same. Your careers are different, even if it's similar, like photography and filmmaking, for example. Even if they're similar, they're still different. We all have different paths. We all are built differently when it comes to emotions. So don't look up to someone who's not even competing himself with anybody. In this case, which is me, I never compete myself with anybody but myself. So this is what you can say changed in me. Like I started telling people, don't compare yourself to me, but compare yourself to what you were yesterday. for your better tomorrow. So this is what got enhanced, because now I'm 7 years older, right? From
Right.
when that incident happened with my friend for the first time. I'm 7 years older, more mature. So the new people that come into my life, I can convey my thoughts in a better way now. Back then, I was like very naive. You can say this is what might have changed.
What exact things have you changed? You said you were naive.
Yeah.
Like back then, what did what do you think that you could have changed? The things that you could have done if you are in this stage, and you going back 7 years back, what would you have
Yeah.
done differently?
I could have been more considerate. That's all I can say. I could have been more considerate with the people that I lost, for with the people that left my life. I could have been more considerate into understanding them a little bit more. But I don't blame myself to not be considerate, because I was, like I said, immature back then. Like at 16 years old, who thinks of understanding their friend? You just roast your friend on a daily basis. That's it. So yeah, I can say I could have been more considerate. But I also feel that they should have been considerate, seeing that I actually care for them and root for them, instead of feeling stranded by me.
Right. I figure that you are very strong energy.
Ah, thank you so much.
What
That's a big compliment.
yeah. What inspires you in your daily life?
The urge to be better every day.
Why is that?
Because there's no other way to go about life. If I'm worse than I was yesterday, I feel like I'm doing something wrong. I feel like my energies could be used in a much, much, much more efficient way if I try to be a better version of myself than I was yesterday, or 1 week ago, or 2 weeks ago. Because I believe that the end goal of life is to be efficient. Is what I feel. You can't be useless in any situation. You have to be of some use in every situation, because that's what determines your value. I'm of this opinion that my value is only determined by what I bring to the table everywhere I go.
What does an efficient life looks like to you? An ideal efficient life. How does it look like for you?
So, like I said, I won't say my life is ideal in my own opinion. Because, like I said, tomorrow is always better than today. But yeah, inefficient life, if you ask me, it's more like knowing that you are not doing enough and still continuing not to do enough. So, this is how I can frame it into simple words. So if you know you're not working hard enough today, and you still continue to not work hard enough, then you're just doomed, is what I feel. Because life doesn't get easier, you just get better. I am believer of this age old saying. I don't know who quoted this, but I believe in this phrase. And
What
if
is
you
the
don't
quote?
get better, life doesn't get easier, you just get better. And the counterpart of this is, obviously, if you don't get better, life gets much harder. So this is what you can say inspires me on a daily basis to get up and do the things that I do. I slack off some days. I completely admit that I do slack off some days. I just take a day off. I just laze around. But I know that's not a very ideal thing to do. So, like I said, I'm still very far away from my ideal life.
Do you think that you experience a hard life?
Sorry, beg your pardon.
Do you think that you have experienced a hard life
Hard
or you
life.
had an easy life? Yeah. Do you think your life is hard or easy?
Yeah. So when it comes to materialistic experiences, my life has been easy, all thanks to my parents, because they never let me believe that we have less of something. But as an emotional, from an emotional point of view, I believe that I faced some hardships. But if I hadn't faced those hardships, I wouldn't have been the person that I am today. So it's not a hard life, quote unquote, but yeah, I have faced some real hardships from people I genuinely cared about. But from a materialistic point of view and having all of the things to my disposal, like a good house, all of the things that I need, I have had an easy life. I have to thank my parents for it.
You mentioned that you have different hard parts of your life.
Yeah.
When was the period that was the hardest for you?
So when was the period, as in my age? Yeah,
Yeah,
so when
when
I was, especially from when I was 16 to 19, 16 to 20, you can say 20, yeah. Now I'm 23. So till COVID hit, it was a rough patch. But after COVID, I realized that life is much more than cribbing about some emotional hardships that you have faced. You have to go through this if you have to grow in life. You have to go through such hardships, I believe, because that's what ultimately builds your character. So after COVID, I realized that life is much, like, life is very fragile. And if you don't do something about it, it will be taken away from you without even a prior notice. Because that's what COVID taught us all, right? That's what the pandemic taught us all. Do something about your life.
right? Thanks for the sharing. And I think you are very, like I said, throughout this whole conversation, I find you to be having very strong energy and that you are very transparent with,
You keep mentioning
yeah,
it, I have to keep thanking you, Jack. Okay.
yeah. And I think that you are actually very open and transparent about your experiences.
Yeah.
You mentioned about, I think you are very, very vulnerable with how you felt with your friend before that
Yeah.
and how you actually overcame it. And I think that people can learn a lot through this. And I hope that people actually are able to feel what you are saying right over there and that never give up, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Always
That's
try
what.
to improve every single day.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I came up with a closing tradition for this podcast.
Yeah.
And it's a very simple statement about asking you this last question. Are you happy?
Happiness is subjective for me. So
Right.
every day is an yeah. So every day is a new endeavor. If I have assigned myself to a few tasks for today, and if I achieve those, I'm happy. If I get to see the people I love today, I'm happy. If I don't achieve those things and if I don't get to see those people, I might say, I'll have to say that it takes away a bit of my happiness. So it's subjective.
Right.
But I do
What?
believe that my yeah, sorry, but I do
Yeah, you
believe
can
that
go on.
my happy yeah, I do believe that my happiness lies completely in my hands, and not someone not it's not anything that somebody else can control.
What about right at this moment?
Yeah, I do feel happy. because I am on a podcast for the first time ever. And you won't believe this, but I always had this wish to start my own podcast, but I never had the confidence. And I also get caught up in a lot of new things, and I keep giving excuses to myself as to why I shouldn't start a podcast. And just last week, there was like an online acquaintance. I approached him that we should start a podcast together because apparently he had his own podcast. But some things came up that he got busy with his schedule, I got busy with mine. But as soon as you approached, as soon as I saw your comment, I was like, let's just do it. I will be very honest with you. I didn't even go through, rest of your content. I just saw when was your last post, and I was like I said on our call earlier, I was unsure like why are you resuming 3 years later, but I was completely excited about it. So I'm definitely happy at the moment.
Cool. What what is like your future goals? Looking forward because you just started out your content.
Yeah. So like I said, I want to be a person with influence, but with positive influence, where people when people look at me, like watch my content or meet me in person, they should feel like they should do something with their lives, and they should whatever they are doing, they should be the best at it. You can't be anywhere in between. Either you are a good footballer or you're a bad footballer. You're nothing in between. Because I was always a competitive guy, right? I am actually. But even when it came to sports and any other stuff, I was always competitive. So I want people to understand that competition builds your character. So don't console yourself if you lose. So I want to inculcate those kind of feelings in people whenever people will look up to me, and I'm sure they will in some of the coming years. This is my ultimate goal. People shouldn't lose hope when they look at influencers. I won't say I'm an influencer, but that's what I mean to say. When people look up to you, they should feel hope rather than losing it.
Vishal, thank you for joining us today.